Hello, and welcome to the Cinema Sitdown powered by Groovy. My name is Dom, and I'm an International Account Manager here at Groovy's branch in Perth, Australia, and I'm joined by my colleague Nav, who is an Ad Operations and Product Marketing Manager. Thanks for joining us as we take a deeper look at how Groovy's audience insights help make sense of a constantly evolving theatrical landscape. Nav, welcome.
It's great to be here, Dom.
So Nav, today we're taking a deeper look at a specific audience that has been going to the cinema less frequently, especially post-COVID.
Yeah, that's right, Dom. Today we're talking about the older demographic of audiences, over 50s. In particular, how their viewing patterns have changed in recent years, and the implications this has had on digital advertising for cinemas and film distributors.
So has this time-worn pastime of going to the cinema fallen out of favour in this demo? And are online ads targeted towards the older 50-plus audience still a thing?
Well, as we analyse the data from Groovy, I think you'll find there are plenty of promising signs for theatrical films aimed at this demographic, and that targeted online ads play an important part in reaching this audience.
So before we look at the data, I think it's important to paint the picture. So recent surveys have shown that attendance rates are generally lower for older age groups, but post-COVID, it's been slower to pick up back up to normal rates. So there was a 2022 study conducted by Val Morgan, which found that cinema attendance in the first quarter of 2022 soared by as much as 91% for people aged 35 to 49 over the quarter period, and was up 81% for those aged 14 to 24, and was 72% for people aged 25 to 34. However, the lowest was a 65% increase for those aged 50 plus. So while there's definitely been greater trepidation post-COVID within older people about going out to cinemas, I think also the focus on big films from the cinema's perspective to pull them through a difficult last few years has seen blockbusters dominating screens and cinemas. All this has accelerated that conversation about if there is indeed still a market for non-blockbuster films in cinemas. However, one of our major clients here in Australia, distributor Transmission Films, has built a strong reputation out of releasing films targeted to a predominantly 50-plus audience. Groovy has collaborated with them on the digital marketing campaigns, and together we have achieved great success as a result, and have some interesting insights to share. In the last year alone, we've run campaigns for The Duke, Operation Mincemeat, Alleluia, Living, and The Lost King. The Duke and Living in particular had a strong box office performances, grossing over $2 million each here, which placed Australia amongst the top 3 markets for the film worldwide, behind the US and the UK, which is a very impressive result given our relatively small population. So let's take a deeper look at the most recent film we ran social ads for, which is The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. This is a film that stars Jim Broadbent, who's a stalwart of English cinema, particularly cinema that is geared towards an older audience. So Nav, how do we run this campaign?
The key market we targeted for this film was males and females over 40, with Facebook and Instagram being the key channels we used. These are the most common channels, as they have a large proportion of users to draw from and a broad age range of users, allowing us to conduct detailed targeting for older audiences. We also use Google display banners, as this is a regular channel we use to broaden the reach of our advertising beyond just social media channels. For the campaign setup, we ran an awareness campaign 2 weeks before release, and then a conversion campaign 2 weeks after release. These choices were based on trends we noticed for films targeted to this audience. Looking at the data from cinemas, we see smaller week-by-week drop-offs than your typical film, meaning that audiences don't necessarily rush out to see a film on opening weekend, so campaigns can actually run for longer.
I think that offers some fascinating behavioural insight of how older demographics engage with films and theatres, and also how to optimise marketing to this demo, based on those trends we've noticed from past campaigns. So for The Duke and Living, we saw strong post-engagement, video views and click-throughs to the landing page, and there was a steep drop-off for Showtime exits to buy tickets online. So clearly, older audiences are less likely to purchase tickets online, instead opting to go to the box office and buy tickets at the counter. So how did the Harold Fry campaign perform, Nav? And was this something that you also noticed throughout the duration of the campaign?
Compared to the benchmark of other Transmission films, the video view-through rate of Harold Fry across all social media channels was 23% lower, and engagement rates were actually 3.5% lower, which was a bit concerning. Compared to similar Transmission films, the film had a lower click-through rate, but had a higher Showtime interaction rate and Showtime exit rate. This indicates that there was a smaller share of audiences interested in this movie than The Duke or Living, but unlike these films, Harold's audiences were very eager to watch right away and more likely to investigate with Showtimes online. Facebook drove a massive 95% of the traffic to the ticketing page, and converted audiences were mainly females 55 and above, as they contributed with most Showtime interactions and exits. There was also a good share of converted audiences aged 45 to 54, as they made up 21.6% of overall conversions. However, there was a distinct lack of conversions from 35 to 44-year-olds and males, which was unlike Living and The Duke, as they had stronger conversion rates within this age group.
So I think we can see with these older skewing films that if they can engage that 35 plus audience, the film is more likely to do very well. And if you're pushing ads with the sole goal of generating conversions, you're excluding a huge ticketing purchasing audience for these types of films. Older audiences do go to the cinema, but reaching them is very different. These audiences are much less likely to convert online, instead looking at showtimes on the landing page before purchasing over the counter. Also, if you're pushing ads with the sole goal of retargeting previous purchases of tickets online or via an email loyalty database, you're missing out on a huge portion of an interested audience. This is why Groovy's landing page plays an important part in identifying and capturing these audiences and then ensuring they are marketed towards.
I think that's a really important takeaway. There's clearly a strong desire for the older demographic to go to the cinema, but they're often overlooked by digital marketing campaigns. Living and The Duke delivered excellent results with their digital campaigns, so clearly online ads work for this demo. But the specifics of how to best target them are often overlooked, which is what Groovy's behavioural insights try to help identify.
Yeah, and it's clear that seeing how the digital campaigns for these films perform ahead of release allows us to see these warning signs well in advance of traditional advertising outlets and gauge the expected success of the film. So the engagement and completed video view rate and click-through rate for Harold Fry was nowhere near The Duke or Living. And even though the Showtime interaction and exit rate was high, this is based only on a small share of the audience that actually clicked through to the landing page to investigate session times. So ultimately, Harold Fry performed decently at the box office, but not nearly as well as The Duke or Living. And this was highlighted by our data during the campaign's duration. So Nav, we are in the middle of the blockbuster season right now, and there are plenty of big films screening. Have you been watching anything in cinemas?
I haven't actually been super recently. The last thing I saw was the latest Guardians of the Galaxy film. Mixed feelings. Like, I love the film, but it does feel like the end of an era for these Marvel films, especially the characters that I really enjoyed watching growing up. But I have to say, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably my favourite franchise in Marvel's multiverse. What about you, Dom?
So yes, I have been enjoying the blockbuster films, especially Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was just phenomenal. I'm actually wearing a Spider-Verse beanie right now. I know you can't see, but trust me on that. And, I watched The Flash, which was a lot of fun. Same with Pixar's latest Elemental. But I did want to highlight some great indie films, specifically You Hurt My Feelings with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which was, I think, a really good film. And there was also a beautiful French drama called One Fine Morning with Léa Seydoux. So, as big blockbusters and smaller independent films sit side by side at the cinema, I think it's important to make the point to go enjoy the latest blockbuster in cinemas, but also not to forget about those smaller films at the same time. I mean, you might just discover your next favourite film. So that's all from us this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Cinema Sitdown.